Okay, so what's happening? What's happening is I am running at the speed of light. I am creating components at literally the speed of light here. So let's break down what just happened. Guys, it's time to take your productivity as a developer to the next level. I recently found something I've been looking for years now, and really I finally took the time to dive in, and I hope after watching this video you dive into this too and save yourself a ton of time. Today we're talking about VS Code macros. We're talking about 5, 10, 50, 100x improvements in your speed and your performance. At a high level, a macro is just a series of keyboard inputs that allow you to automate your day-to-day tasks as an engineer. You can automate almost anything. Let me show you a couple of things I've done here. I'm super excited about this. Let's just dive in. Let me show you what I've done. So first things first, we have an empty Vue.js application, right? I can show you the structure here. I've deleted the components folder, and this is just created from, Vite, create app, classic installation. So right now there's no server running, right? So you can see I'm refreshing, nothing's happening. I've got Keycaster here loaded because I want you guys to see exactly what my keyboard inputs are as I am running these macros, right? Let me run a macro for you guys. Pay attention to Keycaster again. I'm gonna run option 3. Refresh the browser, and my server is up and running. So what just happened there? Well, obviously I started a server, right? So if we hop back up, we can see I ran yarn run dev on port 3000. And I did that by just typing in option 3. Okay. So that's one example of using macros, right? So I just sent arbitrary input directly to my terminal with two presses of a button, right? With 2 key clicks, 2 key presses, whatever. Okay, let me show you another one, right? So it's common as an engineer to, you've got some text here, sure, hello world, let's import the ref from Vue. All right, fix the stupid import. And so say you run an update somewhere, who knows what this is, sure, hello Vue, whatever it is. It's not really important what it is. But let me show you a second code snippet. Pay attention to Keycaster here. I'm gonna run option 2. Okay, all right, so I pressed 2 keys, and all of a sudden, I have an if statement here, right? I wrapped my content in an if statement. This is really cool. It's not important what exactly is happening. It's important that it's happening and how quickly it's happening, right? Like the if statement could have been anything, right? So keep an open mind with that, right? I'm just showing you some random examples of things that I do in my workflows that I want automated, right? That I want macroed out. And this goes further, right? This isn't the end of that, right? So say I had an arbitrary number of lines, right? Say I had 10 lines. All I do is select, run my snippet with option 2, and I just wrap all my code. Okay, so that's the second example I want to show you guys. Now this last example is going to blow your mind a little bit, I think. It blew my mind when I finished writing it. So let me just jump in to show you guys. So I'm in the app.vue component, right? You can see here, I don't have any other components created, right? This is just this single asset in here, and just, the usual, Vite create app content minus the components directory, right? So I just delete that. So it's very common. You're in here, you're creating some component. Let's just call it subtitle, right? So new component. Now I want to create this new component, right? it's not here. It doesn't exist yet, right? Normally you open up a file, create it, set up the defaults, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna run my macro from the key option 1. So, pay attention to keycaster here. There's there's a lot of magic happening here, but let's just see what happens. Okay. So what's happening? What's happening is I am running at the speed of light. I am creating components at literally the speed of light here. So let's break down what just happened. As you can see, I have this new subtitle.view text in my browser. You can see here that my component has been imported. And if you look in my Explorer, you can see that I've created a brand new subtitle.view component that's been templated out with modern Vue 3 setup code, right? Okay, wow. So disclaimer, right? So a lot of these things can happen automatically. Like your browser can do a lot of these things, and there are extensions for a lot of these things. That's not really the point of this, right? Like, yes, use your extension that does this for you. Yes, use your auto wrapping if statement stuff. The value in macros is that you can do anything you want. And I'll show you how I'm doing these things in just a moment here, but I'd like keep that in your mind, right? Like, the value isn't that you can, like, there's some extension that does this already. It's like, yeah, there's an extension that does freaking everything. The point here is you, in your specific workflows with your specific development style, can create any type of macro that you want to serve any purpose that you want. That's the key here. That's the key takeaway of this video. Okay, so let's jump in. I want to show you guys how exactly I'm doing all of this, right? So where's the magic? First things first, I'm using an extension, surprise, using an extension called Macro Commander. This is an extension built on top of another extension. All this really does is that it allows you to go into your settings.json file and create this macros object. So let me just show you mine, right? Settings.json. And you can see here, I have this macros object, and all the commands, except for one, I didn't show you guys my blogging command. All these commands are in here, right? So you can see the yarn run dev, the if wrap, and the new view component, right? So this extension allows you to specify and create macros inside your settings.json. And then once you've created and named your macros, you can hop over to your, your key binding shortcuts, and then you can just map them to whatever you want, right? So here's, like, that's the magic there, right? So macros.new view component, I have bound to alt1, right? Same thing with alt2, same thing with alt3. So this is really great, right? So basically you can key bind to anything you want. Fantastic. That's expected. But let's jump into how this is actually running. Let's just open up yarn run dev. So I've got 2 commands running here. All a macro is a series of, essentially a series of commands from the VSCode editor, right? So you can see here, I've got focus terminal. So this is going to quite literally run the, focus terminal command. If I hit, command shift P, open up the VSCode command input, you can type whatever you want. This is the focus terminal command that's being run, right? So it opens up whatever terminal you have available, and then it fires off this command. That's an object. So there are 2 types of commands, right? You can just have the raw string, and then you can have the object. And the object format takes the command name, and then it takes like arbitrary arguments and other key value pairs. And I'm running the send sequence here. So terminal send sequence. So it's sending input. And the text for this is, of course, yarn run dev with the port and then the new line to hit enter. So even if you stop the video here and you have this one command, this is incredible, right? So now you can run any one of your scripts even any one of your, like bash RC aliases or functions, and then you can key bind it, and even just this right here, just these two commands, it's going to increase your developer productivity a crap ton, which is what this is all about, right? This is about you owning more of your time, right? Doing less of the repetitive work that you and I are both doing, right? So that's great. Let's move on. If wrap. All right, so here's some more secret sauce, right? So this is really cool, right? So we have 6, 7 commands here, and what's happening? Clipboard cut action. So this is running cut, right? So if you're on a Mac, this is Command X. And then I'm running this really cool insert snippet, right? So I have, of course, user snippets, custom snippets. So I have an if statement, code snippet, right? I'm gonna make videos on code snippets. If you're not using code snippets, subscribe and like, stay tuned for that. And if you are, awesome, you know the power of code snippets. I see a ton of developers that are really high level and they're still not using code snippets. That confuses me, but we'll talk about that another time. Basically, this code snippet just creates an if statement, right? And I can just show you that here. So it's just IFF to trigger, and then tab, and then I have this if statement coming in here. Pretty standard stuff. So I insert my if statement, I type. So I'm sending a type command. You can send arbitrary text with the type command, and the text here is just true. So I'm just filling in a blank conditional, doesn't really matter what it is. And then I go line end, cursor down, and then I paste, right? So I put the content back inside the if block. And just to show you guys that again, right? So say I had, const, var equals 5, awful example, but whatever. And then I just run that snippet, right? So it types in, true, goes to the end of the line, and then it goes down, and then it pastes, right? So it's really important when you're creating your macros to really walk through each individual step, because your macro will do exactly what you tell it to. All right, so that's if wrap. And then here is the magical one, right? So I should really be like selling this somewhere, but whatever. So this is creating an entire new component. And there, I do take some shortcuts, right? Like the component gets created in the same directory as the component that you're working in when you fire off the command. So there are ways to improve this, but I just want to show you guys the power of macros here. So let's jump into this one, right? So we're doing a keyboard copy, right? So remember, if you remember, the command starts up by selecting, and then you enter your key binding, right? So you always start with the element highlighted. Next, I do a find command, right? And so I'm looking for the script tag, right? Because where do you put imports? Right below the script tag, okay? I'm finding the script tag, and then I'm running arbitrary JavaScript. This is really cool. This kind of gets into the extension world of VSCode, which I'll get to in another video, but I am waiting here. You can see I'm just awaiting a promise that waits for 200 milliseconds. And I'm just waiting so that VSCode finishes what it's doing. Sometimes you need to place these because VSCode runs so fast that the macro doesn't have time to kind of catch up. After I find it, I close, right? So now we have the element highlighted, right? So this is the equivalent of doing, script, right? So I find, and then I close, right? So now you can see the cursor is on the script. And then I go to the end of the line, and then I insert a new line, right? So end of the line, insert new line. And then I type import, and then I paste, and then I type again from .. So I'm literally fabricating an import, right? Import, and then say I had this in my copy buffer, paste, and then it's from, and then you can see the .. and then it's paste, and then below that I type .view, right? So we can just keep walking down, right? So you can see here, type import, paste from quote dot slash, paste again, right? Paste the component name in, and then end with the dot view, right? I'm importing. Then it's line end, and then we do word and left select. So this is me highlighting the extension and the file name, right? And then I copy that. So this is the equivalent of, going to the end of the line, and then we're doing some word selects, right? And then I copy this, right? This is so that when I'm creating the new component, I have the perfect file name. I'm sure there's better, faster ways to do this, whatever. This is just what worked, so I did it. And then I run the new file command. If you weren't aware, you can run this, Control-Shift-P, and then new file, right? If you just type new, you get the new file command. That's what I'm running here. It's important to keep in mind that you can run anything you can inside your macro that you can by opening up the command input from VSCode, right? So I paste, right? So I have the new file name pasted. And so, this is the equivalent of doing this, right? So highlight, new file, enter, paste, right? I'm getting the error because I already created this file name, so let's change it a little bit. And then the next command is like focused, return focus to pane, and that allows the file to be created here, right? So that happens there. Right, so we do the paste, and then we focus panel. We wait for the same reason as before, and then I insert another code snippet, right? So I have this great code snippet that I use when I'm creating Vue.js components. That's what's running here. So once I open up this new file, I run my Vue.js code snippet, and it generates this great template for me. Then I run save. It's really cool. You can run saves, and then I go to the previous editor. I save. So this is me saving the new file, saving the old file, cursor end, and then I pop up a little, show information, just saying, "Whoa, that was fast." And this is pretty cool, right? So again, let's just go ahead and run this again because this is so cool. All right, so let me get rid of all these. Let's close this. Save. All right, so I'm going to create a new component here, right? So we'll call this, to-do list, whatever. And then we're just going to run, so pay attention to my keycaster input. I'm going to do the command 1. Just like that. All right, really insane, really fast. And that is macros, guys. Like that's basically it, right? So you run, you have your list of commands. You specify a macro, and then you key bind the macro, specify macro name, right? So new Vue component, if wrap, whatever. And then you come over to your key bindings and you key bind it, and then you run it. Really cool. I hope you guys can see the value in this. There is a learning curve. Learning all the VS Code input commands is time consuming, right? It took me some time to, especially for this new Vue component, to walk through all the steps and to try to find the right command and the right, command object types. But the trade-off is definitely worth it. Just have to spend the time to figure it out. Highly, 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 highly recommended. Save yourself time. Being an engineer is about creating products. It's about creating value for yourself or for your company or, hopefully for your customers. So you want to be spending as little time as possible actually doing the building, right? To get value. And, things like code snippets and macros helps you do that faster so that you can go back to your life, hanging out with your family, working on that side project that you've been wanting to build. At the very least, say you're working some job that you don't really care about, you can just do all your work faster and then chill, right? So really cool. Definitely check this out. I'll link every resource that you'll need for this in the description, so check that out. And I'll also drop some of my macros so you can get up and running quickly on a page on my website. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys can see the power in this. Comment, like, if you want to see more of this. I'm a huge fan of developer productivity and moving faster so that we can spend more time living and being a human and not just be sitting behind the computer, or at the very least, like, if you want to sit behind the computer, you can do other things that you really care about, right? So I'm really passionate about developer speed, developer productivity. I'm going to create more content around this. I have an idea for a book or a course or something where I just really dive into how to be the most efficient developer that you can possibly be. And I'm going to pack everything I know into it and everything I don't know yet. So, stay tuned for that. Like, subscribe, usual stuff. And I really appreciate you guys' time. Appreciate you being here. And I will see you in the next one.